First tonight, new information following the shot fired near the Dayton Children's Parade Friday night.
Dayton police tell us they are still searching for the person who fired that shot. Bryn Caswell is live downtown tonight. And Bryn, what have officers told you about the 4 teens possibly involved here?
Megan, Dayton police say the 4 teens that had a fight breakout are unrelated to the shot that was fired. But what we do know tonight is that police are still searching for a suspect that fired their weapon. We do not know if that was an adult or a juvenile. But what we do know is that the 4 teens have been arrested and they've been charged with disorderly conduct, and other charges are pending.
They've arrested the 4 other youth involved, and I have all those cases. But at this point, they're all misdemeanors. They're not felonies because they didn't have a gun.
Bryn, what else did the judge have to say about a rise in teen violence?
Judge Capizzi tells me that there's been a decrease since COVID-19 in juvenile crimes, but there has been an increase in the seriousness of offenses. So there's less cases, but more serious charges. Now stick with us, because coming up tonight at 10 and 11, I'll have more on this ongoing investigation and what the system is doing for juvenile reform. Reporting live in Dayton, Bryn Caswell, Dayton 24/7 Now News.
Brent, thank you. And if you're a parent or caregiver, you may be wondering, what do I do to talk to my child about this? Montgomery County's Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services says the most important thing is to do just that. Talk with your child about what happened. The executive director of Adamus says adults have to be willing to have those hard conversations with kids.
We don't always have all the answers, but we want to open up the pipeline for communication. So asking them how they're feeling, asking them if they felt frightened, and just talking about it is probably the most important things that parents can do right now to help their children be resilient and to get over any fear that they may have that's lingering with them.
She adds that you should be careful about calling this event a shooting, because using that word invokes different kinds of reactions, especially in kids. Also, be extra cognizant if you notice your child is beginning to withdraw from activities or spending more time alone, because that could mean that they need some extra help to work through a traumatic event like this. Now, here's one way to do just that. On Our Sleeves is a nationwide movement to break the silence surrounding children's mental health. They want to give free, evidence-informed resources to every community across the country to break stigmas and educate families and advocates. There are resources for educators, parents, and the community available here. You can learn more at childrensdayton.org/onoursleeves. You can also reach out to Adamus. The Miami Valley Warm Line offers free, confidential mental and behavioral health support. It can connect you to mental health and substance use disorder community resources too. That's available Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Just call 937-528-7777. But it's important to remember, it's not a hotline. If you need immediate mental health or substance abuse help, you can call the Crisis Now hotline instead. It's available 24/7 at 833-580-CALL.
A live look inside the Capitol building now, where Kellyanne Conway met with the House committee investigating the January 6 riots today. Conway served in the White House as a senior advisor to former President Trump. She says she met with the committee voluntarily today and declined to discuss the details any further. And we're learning more about what the committee's final report is going to focus on. It's expected to focus on issues beyond the former president's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Representative Adam Schiff says the committee wants to be as broad and inclusive as possible. Vice Chair Liz Cheney says the final report will also include information about the security failures on January 6th and information about members of Congress who failed to comply with the committee's subpoenas. The panel expires in 2 months.
The gunman in the deadly Tops supermarket mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, has pleaded guilty to all state charges. He's now going to spend the rest of his life in prison. The 19-year-old pleaded guilty to 15 charges in all, including murder, attempted murder, and domestic terrorism motivated by hate. That last charge carries a mandatory life sentence with no parole.
He will spend the rest of his life in prison with no chance of parole. Though the federal case continues, his actions today ensure that there will be no state court trial, and he will not appeal. This critical step represents a condemnation of the racist ideology that fueled his horrific actions on May 14th.
Now, he still faces 26 federal charges, some of which carry the possibility of the death penalty. He previously pleaded not guilty to those. He'll be sentenced for the state charges in mid-February. The self-proclaimed white supremacist shot and killed 10 people and injured 3 others in that shooting in May.
These precious lives were snatched from us for no other reason than the color of their skin.
This country has a problem. This country is inherently violent. It is racist.
My mother didn't deserve this. None of these people deserve this. But yet here we are begging, literally begging, for those who are in power to do something about it.
The Erie County District Attorney adds he's grateful the survivors and families of the victims won't have to endure a long trial now.
A live look from our Kettering Health Skycam now over downtown Dayton. A dreary day here in the Miami Valley. Natalie is live.
Notice a warming trend, at least for our Tuesday.
This critical step represents
So through the overnight hours, notice lower
condemnation of the racist
40s. We really don't fall too much from where
ideology that fueled his horrific actions
we are right now. Talking about a mild Tuesday.
On May 14th.
The winds pick up, the rain moves in.
Now he still faces 26 federal charges.
I'll time it all out for you coming up in just a bit.
Some of which carry the possibility of the death penalty. Natalie, thanks. Former President Trump going after this. He previously pleaded not guilty to the special counsel appointed to oversee criminal probes against him. Now, Trump wrote on his platform, Truth Social, that Jack Smith is compromised and shouldn't be allowed near the Justice Department and FBI agency he calls corrupt. He goes on to call Smith a political hitman. Now, Smith will lead investigations into the January 6th riots and Trump's handling of classified materials found at his Mar-a-Lago home this year.
A live look inside the Capitol building now, where lawmakers are back after Thanksgiving break, and they have a lot on their agenda. Congress faces routine priorities first, like passing a government spending bill and the National Defense Authorization Act. That act is President Biden's request for nearly $40 billion for aid for Ukraine and $9 billion for COVID funding. Democrats also want to pass bills involving same-sex marriage rights, voting rights, the debt limit, and the child tax credit, as well as the Darke program. This is all on top of a potential national rail strike that might require them to also step in.
Unprecedented, rare protests breaking out all over China this weekend. Thousands angry over China's zero COVID policy in an unprecedented show of defiance against the government's restrictive pandemic strategy. Now, it's an approach top U.S. health officials have criticized as not being effective in stopping the spread of COVID-19. Chinese residents say they want an end to the repeat lockdowns and strict quarantines.
I am a victim. Right? I cannot go home for many years, like 2 to 3 years, right? My parents were locked down for 3 months. And even relatives of my good friends, they suicide because of the lockdowns, right? And I know people die because of it, because of the side effects of this policy.
Now, protests have become extremely rare in Hong Kong, where a new national security law has given police greater powers to crush dissidents. Protesters all over the country calling on other Chinese residents to stand with them. Also, an Iranian general admits more than 300 people have died during nationwide protests and unrest over the last 2 months there. Megan is at the Now Desk. What's this stemming from exactly?
Well, Adam, this is the first official acknowledgement of casualties, but it's far lower than estimates from a U.S.-based activist group that's been keeping track. They say it's more than 500 deaths and more than 18,000 people that have been detained. The protests there erupted after the death of a young woman arrested by Iran's morality police. Now, the niece of Iran's supreme leader is calling on other governments to cut ties with Tehran and support the protest. That side of the family has opposed the Ayatollah for decades, though.
Live look at the World Health Organization's Twitter page now. You can see it'll start using a new term for monkeypox disease. It's now being called Mpox. Now, that name is changing because when the disease outbreak expanded earlier this year, racist and stigmatizing language was observed and reported to the WHO. So some countries and people asked the organization to propose a way forward. Both monkeypox and mpox names will be used simultaneously for 1 year, while the monkeypox name is then phased out.
Tonight, oil prices in the U.S. have hit a low not seen in nearly a year. The North American benchmark fell just over 3% today. Oil prices are now down to $81 per barrel. That's the lowest since January. Analysts say fears about COVID-19 restrictions and lockdown protests in China have caused a dent in demand, leading to lower gas prices in the U.S. So let's take a look at those gas prices now. This is a live look at AAA's gas price tracker map. You can see the national average for a gallon of gas is right now $3.55. That's the red bar on the left there. That's down more than 5% from last month. Now here in Ohio, our current average is $3.43. That's the blue bar on the left there. About a month ago, our average was more than 6% higher.
Live look at the White House now, where the first family getting into the holiday spirit. This year's holiday theme for the White House is We the People. First Lady Jill Biden decided on the theme to show a sense of unity, possibility, and optimism.
I've seen it everywhere I've gone. When our country comes together, we are stronger. What we share is so much greater than the things that pull us apart. The soul of our nation is and has always been we the people.
The Blue Room will hold the 19-foot-tall Christmas tree. More than 83,000 lights decorate 77 trees. Displays, garlands, and wreaths throughout the White House. And you can see even the Biden's pets, Commander and Willow, are included in the decor. Well, early holiday shopping is starting off strong, but is it enough to keep the economy afloat? The indicators economists are looking into to determine just how resilient our economy is heading into the new year.
And the UC Bearcats former head coach is moving on, where he's headed and the history of his career.
Plus, I'm tracking wind and rain with our next weather maker that's coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
It's starting to look a lot like winter, even in West Texas. You can see the snow falling from the sky on Thanksgiving Day in this time lapse from the Franklin Mountains near El Paso. Most of the snow melted before reaching the ground. Bambi and Thumper may be cartoon characters, but in southwestern Virginia, this fawn and rabbit seem to be getting along just as well.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Early holiday shopping. It started off strong, but Wall Street started the week off on shaky ground. Protests in China over COVID lockdowns are disrupting global supply chains. So economists are still trying to gauge how resilient the U.S. economy will be heading into the new year. And there's no shortage of forecasts ranging from best to worst case scenarios.
The yield curve is definitely telling you a recession is coming.
Our base case remains that there's not going to be a recession. There'll be a soft-ish landing.
So coming up at 6:30 over on Fox 45, why it's so hard to know what's in store, plus what's ahead in the housing market that could soon change drastically.
And online Black Friday sales breaking records this year. They reached more than $9.1 billion, according to Adobe Analytics. Officials say that's an all-time high, despite recent economic concerns, including rising inflation. Analysts also predict strong numbers for Cyber Monday, which, of course, is underway right now. The National Retail Federation projects overall holiday sales will increase by 8% in 2022.
And more records were hit this holiday weekend. This is a live look at the Dayton International Airport's flight tracker now. So TSA says it screened more than 2.5 million people at U.S. airports Sunday. That's a pandemic-era record for air travel volume. It beats the record of 2.49 million set back on July 1st. The TSA nearly matched that record the day before Thanksgiving, screening 2.46 million people.
And lots of people out and about shopping today and over the weekend. Hopefully, if they're headed out over the next couple days, it's going to be better than the last few.
You know, tomorrow a little bit warmer and staying dry for the most part.
But that rain.
Yes, we got some rain and then eventually going to be seeing a big drop in our temperatures. We actually have a little roller coaster ride that we're going to be going on with our temperatures, and the rain, for the most part, holding off until we head into tomorrow evening. So here's a look at satellite radar. We are quiet, we are calm across the area, looking pretty good for us, but we do have those cloudier skies, which will actually be fairly persistent overnight. By tomorrow, we do start to see some breaks in the clouds, so we will see some improvement, but then by that point, we'll also be tracking our next weather maker, which is going to bring us some windy conditions as well as some rain. So moving through time, tonight, we really don't fall too much. We'll drop to around 40, and then by the morning hours, we actually start to see temperatures climb. Tomorrow afternoon, we're tracking upper 50s, close to 60 degrees, and then we start to see rain chances build in. After 8 p.m., we'll see some showers, could see some heavier pockets, maybe even some rumbles of thunder by Tuesday night into the day on Wednesday. Then it just turns cold and windy for the day on Wednesday. We're tracking 30s through most of the day. I'm going to talk about those wind chills and how strong our winds will be coming up in just a bit.
Natalie, thanks. After 10 weeks of testimony and several delays, prosecutors presented their closing arguments in the Pike County murder trial of George Wagner IV. It's been the largest homicide investigation in Ohio history and the most expensive murder trial in state history, too. Now, George Wagner is accused of helping his family murder 8 members of the Roden and Gilley families in 2016. Prosecutors say the murders were over a custody dispute between the daughter of Wagner's brother Jake and victim Hannah Roden.
The differences in their testimony was very stark, right? George and Angela just answered the questions. I got a whole lot of I don't remembers out of George Wagner when he was testifying.
The prosecution took nearly 4.5 hours for their closing arguments. The defense will get its chance for closing arguments tomorrow morning, followed by a rebuttal by the prosecution. Well, there could be soon to be less waste during the holiday season. Megan's at the Now Desk. What is driving that change?
Well, Adam, get this. The Environmental Protection Agency says plastic and packaging used to send gifts during the holidays is actually responsible for roughly a third of the nation's trash each year. That's why Scotch brand says it's now taking action by literally thinking outside the box. 3M has released eco-friendly and sustainable mailing products, including packing tape, boxes, and labels you can use. The packaging is called Packed by Scotch, and it's composed of recycled products and uses soy-based ink for printing. You can find all these products at most Target locations or also online.
A story now from our partners at the Dayton Business Journal. The Miami Conservancy District is requesting $3 million in funding to improve the Huffman Prairie Flying Field. That's where the Wright brothers perfected the first practical flying machine. It's an essential part of the Dayton Aviation Heritage National Historic Park, and most people can't find it because it's a more than 4-mile drive away from the park center with roadblocks. So the funding wants to decrease the drive to 2 miles, construct a new entrance to the park, and provide direct access for visitors. That'll hopefully improve Dayton's tourism as well. And if you'd like to read more about this, you can go to Dayton247now.com. You can find that story and others like it under the Dayton Business Journal heading in the News tab. Former UC Bearcats head coach Luke Fickell is headed to Wisconsin tonight to lead the Badgers. He was introduced as the team's new head coach today. Fickell led Cincinnati to the college football playoffs last season, going 13-0 before losing to Alabama in the semifinals. For his career, he went 57-18 in his 6 years as head coach. He was also a longtime assistant coach and coordinator at Ohio State, played there collegiately as well. Fickell is replacing Paul Chryst, who was fired in the middle of the season after going 67-26 in his 8 seasons.
Well, winds are pretty calm out there today, but the winds are going to start to kick up as we head into the day tomorrow and our next weather maker approaches. So through tomorrow afternoon, we're talking about some wind gusts up to about 20, maybe up to 25 miles per hour, and then getting even stronger by tomorrow evening when we get a front to make its way in. We're talking about some 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts, and those pretty strong winds persist into our Wednesday. This is with colder air, so we're talking about some 30 mile per hour wind gusts along with that colder air sliding in. So we're talking about some really cold wind chills. So tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be seeing feels like temperatures around 60 degrees. And then this is a look at Wednesday morning. Wind chills back into the 20s and teens. It stays that way, feeling like the 20s through all of Wednesday afternoon. So the cold air returns pretty quickly.
Natalie, thanks. A classic Daytonian winter pastime is back. We take you to Riverscape because ice skating is back.
And now it's time for your TikTok of the day. Today I talk about cirrus clouds. Let's talk about cirrus clouds. Cirrus clouds are these feathery clouds that you see high up in the sky. Now, although cirrus clouds are associated with fair weather, if you see clouds like these moving in, you could typically expect a change in weather within the next 24 hours. The best part about cirrus clouds is that since they reflect light so well, they create beautiful sunsets like these.
the Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Well, now that Thanksgiving is over, it's officially the Christmas season. Nathan Edwards shows us how you and your family can join in on the holiday fun in downtown Dayton.
It is the holiday season, and there's no better way to celebrate than coming down here and ice skating at Riverscape Metro Parks. Now, this is one of the greatest traditions in downtown Dayton, and it's super easy to come down here and have some fun. On most days, they open up at 2:30, some days a little bit earlier, and they run through the evening. Now, if you want to come down here, keep this in mind. It is $7 to get in, $3 for a skate rental. But if you are under the age of 3, you get in for free with a paying adult. So come on down here. They've got plenty of space to enjoy the ice skating. Dayton 24/7 Now, of course, is a proud sponsor of the event. It's a great time to enjoy your city while also celebrating the joys of the season. Back to you.
Well, tracking some chilly weather as we head into these next couple of days. Tomorrow, however, it's going to be pretty mild, a little breezy, close to 60 degrees. But with those stronger wind gusts, you want to keep that in mind if you're doing any decorating outdoors. Wednesday, pretty windy, just cold too. Wind chills will be in the 20s. And then Thursday, it's going to be chilly, but overall looking pretty good. We'll see some sunshine and improving conditions. Now, once we cool off, we actually see temperatures then climb right again back into the mid 50s. By Saturday, and then we got another cold front that'll make its way in. So it's this time of the year, we kind of have that up and down temperature trend, several cold fronts that are going to be making their way in. Now, rain with our next system does arrive Tuesday night into our day on Wednesday. So most of the rain will be an overnight event, and then it just turns cold on Wednesday. Highs in the 40s, but falling temperatures throughout the day. And then back in the 50s Saturday, got some showers both Saturday as well as for a Monday, but shaping up pretty nicely as we head into these next several days. Could be much colder.
Looking for the bright side. It could be much colder.
Could be worse.
Could be.
It could be.
It could be.
Yeah. In fact, tomorrow is actually going to be pretty pleasant with our high close to 60, so soak it up.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, Natalie, thanks. And thanks for being with us tonight. Remember, you can always connect with us on social media. We're headed over to Fox 45 next. We hope you join us there. Good night.